The days blurred together in the crystal boxes, kept count by scratching tiny marks on the floor of her cell with a small piece of metal she had found in her pocket. 5 days became 6, then 7. The aliens kept them fed and alive, but life in a box was still a slow torture. Had started something important on the 3rd day. During feeding time, when some of the barriers lowered briefly, he used hand signals to talk to the others. Elder understood immediately and began teaching the signals to everyone who could see him. By the 5th day, all 40 humans could communicate in silence. The messages were simple: stay strong, watch everything, wait for the right moment. No one knew what the right moment would be, but they all agreed it would come. Young Wu had mostly stopped crying, had been teaching him things through their shared barrier. She taught him to count his breaths to stay calm. She taught him to watch the alien guards and learn their patterns. She taught him that fear was okay, but giving up was not. On the 8th day, something new happened. Rich aliens from other parts of the ship came to look at the captured creatures. They walked through the chamber, pointing at different boxes and making sounds that the translation devices could not fully convert. They were tourists, realized. They were here to look at the zoo. A group of them gathered around Wu's box. They seemed to find the small human child interesting. One of them touched a control panel, and suddenly electricity ran through Wu's box. Not enough to truly hurt him, but enough to make him stumble and cry out in pain. The aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. They did it again. Wu fell to his knees. Watched from her box with eyes that had gone completely still. She did not scream or pound on the barrier like some of the other humans were doing. She simply watched and remembered. She memorized the face of each alien who had hurt Wu. She stored the memory deep inside herself where it would never fade. When the tourists finally left, one of the regular guards came by to check on the boxes. His name had learned this by listening carefully to the other guards, was younger than most of them, and he sometimes seemed uncomfortable with his job. Stopped at Wu's box and looked at the small boy who was still shaking from the shocks. The guard tapped his translator device and spoke. "You adapt well, small creature. If you remain obedient, your captivity will be comfortable." Wu looked up at him with wet eyes. The boy was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke the words that had taught him to say if he ever got the chance. "You should run before my father comes, before our brothers and sisters find us. You should run now while you still can." The alien's face tentacles moved in what had learned was amusement. "Child, your people cannot even leave your own planet. We have traveled the stars for 3,000 years. There is no rescue coming." Stood up in her box. When the guard looked at her, she met his eyes directly. Most of the creatures in the other boxes could not or would not meet the guard's eyes, but stared right at him with the kind of look that made something uncomfortable stir in his chest. "He is not talking about rescue," said quietly. "He is warning you. Humans do not forgive, we do not forget, and we never ever stop coming." Laughed, but it sounded nervous even to his own ears. He moved away quickly to continue his patrol route. That night could not sleep well. He kept thinking about the human child's eyes. There had been no fear in them, no hope either, just patience, like she was waiting for something she knew would happen. He checked the security logs twice before finally sleeping. The logs showed nothing unusual. The human specimens were contained. The ship was secure. Everything was normal. But had a feeling that he could not explain. A feeling that maybe the humans were not Category 7 after all. Maybe the classification was wrong. The next morning, the ship's alarm systems briefly activated. The crew was told it was a drill, but had been at his station and had seen the actual readings for just a moment before they were classified. Something had pinged their long-range sensors. Something small and fast that had appeared for just 3 seconds before vanishing again. The senior officers said it was nothing, space dust, a computer error, but thought about the human child's warning and felt cold. Over the following days, more small things happened. Another sensor glitch, a power fluctuation in one section, a communication burst that came from nowhere and went nowhere. Each time, the senior officers explained it away. Each time became more uneasy. He was not the only one. Some of the other guards had started talking quietly among themselves. They had noticed that the human prisoners were not acting like other specimens. Most captured creatures became more docile over time, accepting their captivity. The humans were becoming something else. They sang sometimes, had started it, singing old songs from Earth. The others joined in. The sound was strange and haunting, and it made the guards uncomfortable even though they could not explain why. It was just noise, just primitive vocalizations, but it felt like something more. Elder had organized the humans into a structure. He gave them tasks to keep their minds sharp. They exercised in their small boxes. They taught each other things. They stayed strong. Young and his wife had created a game where they would describe beautiful places on Earth to each other. Mountains they had hiked, beaches where they had watched sunsets. The game helped them remember that Earth was real and waiting for them. Had become the person others talked to when they felt weak. She had a way of finding the right words to keep people from giving up. She reminded them of their families, their homes, the reasons to survive. And kept watching everything. She had created a map in her mind of the entire section of the ship they could see. She knew where every guard station was. She knew which times had the fewest patrols. She knew which aliens were cruel and which were just doing their jobs. She also knew that something was changing. The guards were more nervous. There were more patrols, more security checks. The aliens were worried about something, even if they would not admit it. On the 14th day, Captain came personally to inspect the human specimens. He walked slowly past each box, studying them with scientific interest. When he reached his box, he stopped. "Interesting," he said to the guard with him. "This one has not broken at all. Most juvenile specimens show submission by now." Looked at the captain with the same patient, cold expression she had shown. Felt something he had not felt in many years of collecting specimens. A tiny spike of doubt. "Make sure the security on this section is doubled," said as he walked away. "I want no chances taken." After he left, allowed herself a small smile. The captain was afraid. He would not admit it, but he was afraid. Good. She pressed her hand against the barrier near Wu's box. The boy put his small hand up to meet hers, separated by the energy field. "Not long now," whispered. "I can feel it, someone is coming." She did not know how she knew this. Maybe it was just hope. Maybe it was imagination. But deep in her bones, she felt certain that somewhere out in the dark of space, someone was moving toward them. And when they arrived, the aliens would learn what humans really were. 3 weeks in the boxes had made the humans harder. They were thinner now, their bodies adapted to the limited space and strange food. But their spirits had not broken. If anything, they had become sharper, like metal being folded and hammered into a blade. Captain stood in his private office, reviewing the schedule. The Infinite Garden had collected enough specimens from the Sol system. It was time to begin the jump to the core worlds of the Empire, where the humans and other new acquisitions would be distributed to research facilities and private collections. But before the jump, standard protocol required genetic sampling of all new specimens. The medical officer, a scientist named, had been eager to begin the procedures on the humans. He had been studying them from a distance and found their biology fascinating. Approved the sampling schedule without much thought. It was routine. Every species they collected went through the same process. There was no reason to think humans would be any different. The first indication that he was wrong came early the next morning. They took first. 4 guards came to his box and lowered the barrier. Immediately fought, his fisherman muscles still strong despite weeks of captivity. It took all 4 guards to wrestle him down and attach the restraints. They dragged him out of the chamber while screamed her husband's name. The examination room was cold and bright. Medical equipment that looked more like torture devices lined the walls, was strapped to a metal table that adjusted to hold him completely still. Entered, his tentacles waving with scientific excitement. "Do not worry, specimen," said through his translator. "This is a standard procedure." "I have a name," said through gritted teeth. "My name is—" Ignored this. To him, the human was simply specimen 447H. He activated the energy scalpels and began cutting into skin to extract tissue samples. The pain was immediate and terrible. Screamed. In the holding chamber, every human heard it. The sound echoed through the ship's halls and into their boxes. They heard screams for what felt like hours but was actually about 20 minutes. When they brought back, he was barely conscious. The wounds were sealed with medical gel, but his face was gray with shock and pain. They threw him into his box and immediately went for the next human. Was next. Then Elder, who fought so hard they had to double the restraints. Then, who broke one guard's arm before they finally got him onto the table. Then, whose screams were somehow worse than the others because she made no sound at all afterward, her mind retreating somewhere the aliens could not reach. One by one, they took the adults. One by one, the screams echoed through the ship. And one by one, the humans who remained in their boxes became quieter and colder. Watched everything. She recorded each detail in her memory, how many guards came, what equipment they used, how long each procedure took, which aliens seemed to enjoy the pain they caused and which were just following orders. When they came for young Wu, something changed. The 8-year-old boy had been brave for weeks. He had followed advice, staying strong and watching everything. But when the guards came to his box, when he saw the fear in the other humans' eyes, when he remembered the screams, his courage finally broke. "Please," Wu cried as they attached the restraints. "Please, I will be good. I promise I will be good." The guards did not care. They dragged him toward the examination room. Pressed both hands against her barrier. "Close your eyes, Wu," she called out. "Think about home, think about the ocean." But when the door closed behind him and the first scalpel touched his skin, Wu's scream cut through the ship like a blade. That scream did something to the humans. It broke something inside them, but not their spirits. It broke their last connection to civilization, to the rules that kept humans from becoming monsters. Still weak from his own torture, pulled himself to his feet in his box. His voice was rough and damaged, but it was clear. He began to sing. It was an old song that fishermen sang when pulling nets from the sea. A working song about strength and brotherhood and never giving up. The words were in Korean, and even the translation devices could not fully capture their meaning. Heard her husband's voice and joined him. Then Elder added his voice, deep and strong despite his age, and sang together. One by one, every adult human in the holding chamber began to sing. The song grew louder and louder until it drowned out Wu's distant screams. It filled the chamber, filled the halls, filled the entire section of the ship with sound that was part rage and part love and part defiance. The guards did not know what to do. They had never seen specimens behave this way. Some of them looked actually frightened, though they would never admit it. The singing continued for the entire time Wu was gone. 23 minutes of constant sound, waves of human voices that refused to stop. When they brought Wu back, unconscious but alive, the singing stopped. The silence afterward was somehow more terrible than the noise had been. It was the silence of predators waiting. Had not sung with the others. She had pressed her forehead against the barrier and whispered words to herself. Words her grandmother had taught her, passed down from grandmother to grandmother for generations. "We remember, we endure, we repay." It was an old saying from times of war and occupation, times when Koreans had been conquered but never truly defeated. The words meant that you could hurt them, imprison them, torture them. But eventually, always, there would be payment for what was done. Came to check on the specimens that night. He walked through the chamber with his data pad, reviewing the genetic samples he had collected. Fascinating results. Human DNA was remarkably adaptable. He was already planning his research papers. He stopped its box. The 12-year-old girl was sitting perfectly still, watching him. "Your turn tomorrow, small one," said cheerfully. "Try not to resist too much. It only makes the procedure longer." Stood up slowly. When she spoke, her voice was calm and clear. "You hurt my friend, you hurt my father, you hurt my neighbors. You think we are animals you can study. You are wrong." His tentacles rippled with amusement. "You are Category 7 specimens. You have no choice in this." "No," said, "we are humans, and humans always have a choice. We can choose to forgive or we can choose to remember. We choose to remember." She stepped closer to the barrier, and found himself stepping back even though the energy field was between them. "Someone is coming for us," continued. "I do not know when, I do not know how, but they are coming. And when they get here, everyone who hurt us will understand what humans really are." Laughed nervously and walked away. But that night, he also checked the security logs. He also noticed the small glitches and strange sensor readings that the senior officers kept dismissing. And like before him, felt a cold uncertainty growing in his chest. In their boxes, the humans rested. They had been tortured, broken, pushed to their limits, but they had not been defeated. If anything, the pain had made them more unified, more certain, more dangerous. Elder used hand signals to communicate with the others in the dim light. "Stay strong. Stay ready. When help comes, we move fast." Every human understood. They had been counting the guards, mapping the ship, learning the patterns. They were prisoners, yes, but they were also soldiers preparing for battle. Young Wu woke in the middle of the night cycle, crying from nightmares. Pressed her hand to the barrier between them. "It is okay," she whispered. "Tomorrow will be better." "How do you know?" Wu asked. Smiled, and it was not a gentle smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. "Because we are still here. We are still fighting. And somewhere out there, someone is coming who loves us enough to burn this whole ship to save us." She did not know how right she was. But far away, moving through the darkness of space like silent sharks, 3 human warships were already very close. Far above Earth's moon, hidden behind fields that bent light and gravity, Lunar Command Station 7 had been monitoring the situation since the moment the alien ship took the village. The station was one of 12 such facilities that humanity had built in secret over the past 30 years. The truth was simple and strange. Earth was not primitive. Earth had been hiding. When humanity first detected alien scout ships entering their solar system 15 years ago, they made a choice. Instead of revealing themselves, they hid their true cities underground and in orbit. They showed only their oldest villages to any watching aliens. They made themselves look weak and primitive while they built weapons and ships in secret. The fishing village that they raided was actually monitoring Station 47. Every person living there was a volunteer who knew the risks. Each had microscopic technology implanted under their skin, technology that transmitted everything they saw and heard. For 3 weeks, Lieutenant Commander Jinho Lee had been receiving data from those implants. He had watched through Wu's eyes. He had heard Wu's screams. He had recorded every moment of torture and humiliation that they inflicted. Now he sat in his office, reviewing the final mission briefing. His hands were steady, but his eyes were cold. Major Park entered the office. She commanded the assault division, and her soldiers were already preparing to board the stealth ships. "Rules of engagement, sir?" asked. Jinho looked at her. Then he pulled up a video file on his screen. It showed young Wu strapped to the examination table, screaming as alien instruments cut into his skin. It showed torture. It showed tears. It showed everything. "There are no rules," Jinho said quietly. "Bring our people home, all of them, alive and safe. As for the aliens," he paused, "make them understand what they have done. Make them understand what happens when you cage our children. Nodded, she had seen the videos too. Every soldier had. They all understood the mission. 3 ships departed from Lunar Command 6 hours later. They were called Righteous Vengeance, Iron Determination, and Unbreakable Will. Each was 50 meters long, covered in technology that made them invisible to almost any sensor. They could move faster than anything they had ever built. The ships had been designed for exploration and peaceful first contact. Instead, they would be baptized in rescue and revenge. Commander Song stood on the bridge of Righteous Vengeance, watching the stars blur past. She was 32 years old and had trained her entire adult life for contact with alien civilizations. She had always hoped it would be peaceful. Now she reviewed the assault plan with her team. Each soldier wore powered armor that could enhance their strength by a factor of 10. They carried weapons that could fire projectiles, energy beams, or electromagnetic pulses depending on what was needed. They had trained for every possible scenario. The captives have tracking implants, explained to her team. We will know exactly where each one is. Extraction is priority 1. We leave no one behind. Is that clear? Yes, ma'am, the soldiers responded in unison. A young corporal named Bora raised her hand. What about the aliens, Commander? What are the rules for engaging them? His expression did not change. They took 40 of our people. They tortured them for research. They hurt children for entertainment. Your priority is to get our people out safely. If aliens get in your way, you stop them. If they fight back, you end them. If they surrender, you secure them. We are not here to start a war, but we will finish this one. The corporal nodded, understanding completely. The 3 Korean ships crossed the distance to the Infinite Garden in 43 hours. They moved in complete silence through space, their advanced engines leaving no trace. The alien ship never detected them. At 300 hours ship time, when most of the crew was sleeping, the assault began. Team 1 entered through the engine section. Engineers cut through the hull with tools that dissolved metal at the molecular level. Behind them, programmable matter sealed the hole immediately. The Infinite Garden sensors never registered a breach. Team 2 came through the water reclamation system. It was uncomfortable work, crawling through narrow pipes filled with alien wastewater, but they managed it in silence. They emerged in a maintenance corridor and quickly neutralized 2 surprised workers. Team 3, led by Commander herself, used the most advanced and dangerous approach. Quantum displacement technology could move a person from one location to another instantly, but the calculations had to be perfect. One mistake would scatter their atoms across space. And her squad materialized in a main corridor just outside the holding chamber. The technology worked perfectly. They were inside. The guards at the holding chamber did not even have time to reach for their weapons. Electromagnetic pulses dropped them where they stood. Their nervous systems temporarily shut down. They would wake up in a few hours with bad headaches, but they would live. For now. Moved quickly to the control panel and began shutting down the containment barriers. Behind her, medics rushed forward with emergency medical supplies. The first barrier to drop was. He stumbled out, weak from torture but alive. A soldier named stepped forward and gave a crisp salute. Sir, we are here to bring you home. Stared at the soldier's advanced armor, the weapons, the technology that seemed like magic. Then he looked back at his wife as her barrier dropped. He looked at his daughter. He looked at all the others. Our people, said, his voice breaking. Our people came for us. Always, replied, we always come. The extraction took 7 minutes. Medics quickly assessed each captive, providing immediate treatment for the worst injuries. Portable sleds floated the weakest toward the exit points. Security teams moved in perfect coordination, watching for any response. Young Wu was carried by a soldier named who spoke softly to him the whole way. You are safe now. We are going home. You were so brave. walked on her own, refusing help despite her weakness. She had been strong for 3 weeks. She could be strong for 7 more minutes. But the mission was not just rescue. Team 2 had moved to the ship's main systems. Within minutes, every weapon the Infinite Garden possessed was disabled. Every engine was locked down with codes that could not break. Every escape pod was secured. Only the communication systems were left functioning. That was intentional. Captain woke to alarms and shouting. He ran to the bridge still in his sleeping clothes. What he found there made him freeze in shock. His entire bridge crew was restrained with devices that immobilized them completely. Human soldiers in armor that looked like it came from a future thousands of years ahead stood at every station. And in the center of it all was Commander, her helmet retracted to show a face of absolute calm. What, how, could not form words. Spoken perfect, the language loaded into her neural implant during the flight. You took 40 people from our world. You tortured them. You hurt our children. Did you really think we would not come? But you are Category 7, protested. Primitive, you should not have technology like this for 10,000 years. Classifications can be wrong, said. We have been hiding our true capabilities. We were not ready for first contact. We wanted more time to prepare, to learn, but you forced our hand. You came to our world and took our people. She stepped closer. So now you get to meet us the hard way. His tentacles trembled. What are you going to do to us? We are taking our people home, all of them, alive and healthy. Gestured to a display showing the rescued humans being treated aboard the Korean ships. As for you and your crew, you are going to be messengers. Messengers. You are going to tell your empire what happened here. You are going to tell them that Earth is forbidden. Sol's system is forbidden. If any species ever takes a human against their will again, we will come for them. We will cross any distance. We will overcome any defense. And we will show them exactly what happens when you hurt our children. Understood now. The humans were not just rescuing their people. They were sending a message to the entire galaxy. Commander stood on the bridge of the Infinite Garden and watched her teams complete their work. Every human captive was now safely aboard the Korean ships, receiving medical care and being reunited with each other. But the mission was not finished yet. Bring the alien captain to me, she ordered. 2 soldiers brought forward. His restraints kept him from moving, but his eyes darted around the bridge in confusion and growing fear. All around him, his crew sat immobilized, watching humans operate their ship's controls with ease. Entered the bridge, walking slowly but with her head held high. She had refused to stay in the medical bay. She wanted to see this. Behind her came young Wu, holding tightly to the hand of his mother, who had been found in another section of the holding chamber. This is the one, asked, looking at. Yes, said. He is the captain. He gave the orders to take us. He approved the torture. Looked at the 12-year-old girl and felt something cold in his chest. This was the child who had warned him, who had said that humans never stop coming. He had laughed at her then. He was not laughing now. What will you do to me? Asked. Considered the question. That depends on you. You have a choice. You can be a prisoner locked away for the rest of your life, or you can be a messenger. I do not understand. You are going to go home, explained. You and your entire crew. We are not going to kill you, though you deserve it. We are not even going to imprison you. We are going to let you go. But first, you need to see something. She activated a holographic display. It showed the holding chamber, but from a wider view. The display revealed not just the 40 human captives, but over 300 other creatures in boxes. Beings from dozens of different worlds, all imprisoned by the... You did not just take our people, said. You have been taking people from worlds across the galaxy. For how long? Hesitated. Collecting specimens is legal under Empire law. We have done this for thousands of years. Not anymore, said. We are releasing every single creature on this ship, every prisoner you have taken. We have already identified their home worlds and are preparing transport." "You cannot," protested. "Some of them are dangerous, some are valuable, some have been in captivity for years." "Then they should go home," replied simply, "all of them." Over the next several hours, human teams worked through the infinite garden, opening every cage, every box, every cell. Creatures that had been prisoners for months or years stumbled out into freedom. Medical teams treated the injured. Engineers prepared small automated ships to carry the beings back to their home worlds. A six-legged predator from a desert planet bowed to the human who freed it, a gesture of deep respect in its culture. A floating gas being pulsed with colors that meant gratitude. An hive creature, freed after 3 years of captivity, surrounded the Korean soldiers with gentle touches, trying to understand the beings who had saved them. Walked through the holding chamber with young Wu. They looked at all the empty boxes where prisoners had been kept, where they had been kept. She felt strange seeing it from outside, seeing how small the boxes really were. "Why did they do this to us?" Wu asked quietly. "Why did they hurt us?" Thought about this. She looked at the guards who were now restrained, watching their prisoners walk free. She thought about the tourists who had shocked Wu for entertainment. She thought about the medical officer who had tortured them in the name of science. "Because they could," said finally. "Because they thought we were weak and they were strong, because they thought some beings matter more than others." She knelt down to Wu's level. "But they were wrong. Every being matters. Every life is important. And when someone is hurt, someone else should come to help them. Like how our people came for us." "Yes, exactly like that." Back on the bridge, had one final conversation with Captain. His restraints had been removed, but he was surrounded by soldiers. He could not escape, and he knew it. "You will be released in 3 hours, told him. "We have disabled your weapons and your faster-than-light engines. Your regular engines work fine. It will take you about 3 months to limp home on those. During that time, you will send reports to your empire. You will tell them everything that happened here." "They will send warships," said, "an entire fleet to destroy you." "Maybe," acknowledged. "But I do not think so, because you are also going to tell them about our technology, about how we entered your ship without you detecting us, about how we disabled everything in minutes, about how we are releasing over 300 captives that your empire will have to deal with now." She leaned closer. "You are going to tell them that Earth is off limits, that humans are not Category 7, that if anyone ever takes a human again, we will find them. No matter where they hide, no matter how far they run, we will find them and we will do to them what we did to you, but worse." Felt his tentacles go still. "What are you?" Stepped forward. She had been listening to the conversation. When she spoke, her voice was calm and clear. "We are humans. On our world there is a small creature called a honey badger. It looks harmless. It is not very big, but if you threaten it, if you cage it, if you hurt it or its family, it will tear you apart. It does not care how big you are. It does not care about your weapons. It just keeps coming until you are dead or it is." She looked at with those patient, cold eyes. "Humans are Earth's honey badgers. We look soft because we choose to be soft. We hide our strength because we prefer peace. But when you took us, when you hurt that little boy," she pointed at Wu, "you found our teeth." Young Wu, who had cried and screamed in the examination room, who had been tortured by aliens who thought he was an animal, looked at the captain with eyes that held no hatred, only certainty. "I tried to warn you," Wu said softly. "I told you to run, but you did not listen." 3 hours later, the Korean ships departed. They left behind the infinite garden with its crew unharmed but shaken, its weapons disabled, its reputation destroyed. They also left behind one more thing. A message beacon, broadcasting on all known frequencies in hundreds of languages. The message was simple. Earth is protected. Sol system is forbidden. Humans are not to be taken, caged, or harmed. This is your only warning. There will not be another. The journey home took 2 days. The 40 villagers spent the time recovering, eating real food, sleeping in comfortable beds. They spent time with the soldiers who had rescued them, learning about the hidden civilization that Earth had built while pretending to be primitive. Met with Lieutenant Commander Jinho and thanked him personally. We knew we were taking a risk, volunteering to be bait, but we did not expect it to be so hard. You were all incredibly brave, Jinho said. Every one of you, especially the children. When they finally approached Earth, stood at a window and watched her world grow larger. It looked the same as she remembered, but she felt different. She had been 12 years old when the aliens took her. She was still 12, but she felt much older. What will you do now? Commander asked her. I want to learn everything, said. I want to learn about space, about aliens, about all the worlds out there. I want to make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. Smiled, you would make an excellent diplomat. Maybe someday, but first I just want to go home. I want to see my grandmother. I want to sleep in my own bed. I want to see the ocean without walls between us. They landed in Korea at a secret military base that they had never detected. Families were reunited, tears were shed, stories were told. Young Wu ran to his father, who picked him up and held him tightly. I knew you would come, Wu said. Told me. She said humans always come for each other. Always, his father agreed. Always and forever. 3 months later, the Infinite Garden limped into space. Captain delivered his report to the Empire's council. They listened in silence as he described the humans, their technology, their absolute certainty. They are not Category 7, concluded. They never were. They are something we have never encountered before. They are patient enough to hide their strength. They are fierce enough to cross space for a single child. They are unified in a way we do not understand. And they have made it very clear that if we touch them again, they will destroy us. The council debated for days. Some wanted to send a fleet to destroy Earth before humans could become a threat. But wiser voices prevailed. They released our captives, one council member noted. Over 300 beings from dozens worlds. Those worlds are now asking questions about our collection programs. Some are demanding we return their people. If we start a war with Earth now, we might find ourselves fighting half the galaxy. In the end, the Empire did something it had not done in 3,000 years. It changed its laws. The Galactic Collection Protocol was abolished. Taking sentient beings against their will became illegal. Ships were sent out to release captives from facilities across the Empire. It was not done out of kindness or sudden moral awakening. It was done out of fear. Fear of what humans would do if they found out there were more of their kind imprisoned somewhere. Fear of a species that looked harmless but had teeth sharper than anyone imagined. 2 years after the rescue, Earth made formal first contact with the galactic community. They did it on their own terms, revealing cities that floated among the clouds, ships that moved between stars, technology that seemed like magic. They joined the galactic community not as primitives to be studied, but as equals to be respected. And yes, to be feared at least a little. Was 14 when she gave her first speech at the Galactic Assembly. She stood before representatives from hundreds of worlds and told her story. She told them about being caged, about watching her friends be tortured, about warning her captors that someone would come. We do not seek war, said. We do not seek revenge. We seek only to live in peace and to ensure that no being is ever caged again. But understand this, humans protect our own. We protect our children, our families, our friends. And we will cross any distance, overcome any obstacle, and face any enemy to do so. She paused, letting her words sink in. We are the honey badgers of Earth. We prefer peace. But if you force us to fight, you will find that we are very, very good at it. The assembly was silent. Then, one by one, representatives began to stand in a gesture of respect that crossed cultural boundaries. They understood. They would remember. In her office on Earth, Ambassador kept a traditional Korean painting on the wall. It showed a honey badger, small and fierce, protecting its young. Beneath it, a plaque in multiple languages read simply, "We never stop." And they never did.